Before we get to your scheduled video, please remember that likes and comments tell YouTube to promote our work to other people, and subscribing to the channel tells you when something new drops. You can also head to the link tree in the description to peruse my books, join us on Discord, or support us on Patreon. You can get episodes of Journey of Wrestling and Violent Profiles early, as well as a load of other treats. Even just $1 a month earns you a name drop for being cool. Thanks for listening, and enjoy the show. Greetings and salutations, fellow unknown and unsourceable explosion noises in my kitchen. It is I, Eric J. Chucky, joined as always by the boy.
Hey.
We're both a little bit shell-shocked in the colloquial sense. I'm sure you can figure out why from this intro. It's because we're so happy to have back, on the tip of your tongue, who is cool, in addition to the guy from Ohio Harmony, Rob, Destrucity KTL, and Passion Killer 711.
And this Ninja Turtles fucking cool pizza van thing in front of me that you have recently put up. Jesus, I haven't looked at it yet. Y'all can't see it. This is dope as shit.
It's most of the figures from the most recent line of the Ninja Turtle stuff and their party van that launches pizzas. But it doesn't have batteries, so the pizzas are stationary. I don't want to lose all my pizzas.
That's absolutely good. I absolutely would have launched a pizza while we were podcasting. It's right there. The lever is right there.
I received most of the collection from my mom for Christmas because that's what I want in life. I don't have children. And I've been setting them up since then, and I finally got them all finished today. And I'm pretty happy with how they look. I'm actually pretty thrilled.
Yeah, this looks cool as shit.
Yeah.
It's cool enough that I brought it up on an audio medium.
You can Google it to see what it looks like. I didn't do anything special with it, except for make Bebop and Rocksteady fist pound. That's about it.
My man.
So yeah, we are here as commissioned by a guy from Ohio. He is subscribed at the $15 tier on the Patreon, which is linked in the description, I think. Yeah, and a link tree in the description. You too can tell us what to watch if you subscribe at that tier. You don't have to, but, you know, that's your prize, in addition to all the early content. And between running out of ideas and just wanting us to watch What We Do in the Shadows, actually, fun fact, you brought up the Ninja Turtle toys. One of the few that I bought myself was Wingnut, because I'm a fan of Wingnut from way back, who is voiced by, I am not going to try to pronounce her name, because it's
the
like,
one who plays Nadja?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Nadja.
that's the lady
Nadja.
from that Resident Evil game, I think is her name.
Sure, okay.
But yeah, what a small world. What a coincidence. But yeah, so season 4 of What We Do in the Shadows, we have been commissioned to watch. Hey, guess what? Next month will be season 5, and I feel like when season 6 finally drops, we'll probably read that. We'll read it. We'll read the power of the What We Do in the Shadows crew through television words.
He's really trying to make something out of this, and I'm proud of it.
The pop, we couldn't source it. We have some theories.
It jumbled our rumbles.
Yeah,
We're all
and
out of sorts.
it was
really loud,
really
and we
loud.
don't know what it
No.
was, and we can't find anything that's broken.
No.
Anyway.
So yeah, unfortunate news, spoiler-free review. This is my least favorite season of this show by averages. There are still lots of good points, but man, do the bad points drag it down really hard.
I think at the end of the last one of these on this show, we said What We Do in the Shadows had gone from a show we were being commissioned to watch that was fun to a show we actually liked. Season 4 brought us back a step.
I'm still enthusiastic about watching next season.
Me too. I liked parts of this season a whole lot. But it's one of those things where the highs were about as high as usual, but the lows were so much lower.
Yeah.
Than usual.
Yeah. So you brought up when we covered season 1 that there were a couple of episodes, or at least bits, that you found very cringy. And here on the Two Nerds podcast, we use cringe in the traditional sense.
It made me physically make that motion. It made me cringe.
Uncomfortable and not really want to watch. I don't like The Office, for example, and it relies a lot on cringe humor, and I don't like cringe humor. It makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah, we don't use cringe to just mean unpopular thing. We
Right.
use cringe to mean literally it provokes a deep, uncomfortable physical reaction from me. When I say something, it makes me cringe, I mean that shit.
And there were, I guess, between us about 3 episodes that were pretty fucking rough.
We both really agree on one of them, and then we have some differences on others.
Yeah. Would I recommend a viewer watch this season?
If they have watched the previous seasons, it is not bad enough to turn you away. All of the characters you like are still here doing stuff, almost.
Yeah.
But
Which, honestly, I think that was a big reason I didn't enjoy this season as much.
missing one of the key components.
Yeah, so we're getting into spoiler territory now. Spoilers for a, fake documentary show about vampires.
From fully 2 years ago.
Yeah, I know that sounds weird, but there is a plot thing that happens at the end of season 3 that is a huge part of season 4.
I would say is the main through line of the season.
I also say spoilers, and it's on the title card, which was an advertisement, so, But Colin Robinson imploded last season, and out of him sprang a small baby with Colin Robinson's head. And when we join Laszlo in the beginning of this season, he is taking care of what is now a toddler, as the baby that crawled out of Colin Robinson is aging rapidly.
The house has gone to complete shit because Laszlo has been left on his own. And if there's one running theme in this show, it's that vampires are physically incapable of taking care of themselves or any of the things that they have or like.
It's a really amusing, exaggeration of reality, because as someone who most likely has the ADHD and spends a lot of time in neurodivergent cultures, I get it. Like, forgetting to shower is a popular one amongst a lot of people. I don't have that issue, but it does happen a lot. Or forgetting where you set your keys. Or, oh yeah, I didn't eat today. That one happens to me all the time. Taken to an extreme, added to age. We talk about a lot of this stuff when we discuss elves in fantasy, things like D&D. You go for so long that your scope of how long anything takes or needs to get taken care of or whatever just sort of withers.
And also it's a great play on some vampire tropes, which again, taking vampire tropes and turning them into mundane realities is kind of what this show does best.
Right.
Which is that vampires are often in old, moldy, decrepit-ass castles, and well, if you're an immortal being with all the time in the world, the only way it gets like that is if you don't know how to fix it yourself, or for some reason are unable to.
Or you forget. Like, how many times have we set a project, or those of us with spouses have been assigned a project by our spouse? It happens. And we completely forget for however long. There is, personal story, the aerator in our kitchen sink busted almost fully 2 years ago, and I have yet to make it to the hardware store that is like a block away in our town to get a replacement aerator to put it in there, so we don't have to continue pushing the little screeny guy back up into the faucet.
Yeah, I also haven't made it to the hardware store because it's one of those little annoyances that is small enough that I'm annoyed by it in the moment, and then it leaves my head fully the instant I turn away from the sink.
So imagine that for a vampire to whom 2 years is, 10 minutes? And yeah, there's corpses stinking up the foyer and the entire...
That is the whole thing that happens to the house for someone of Laszlo's age is the equivalent of, I made dinner last night and didn't immediately wash the dishes.
Right, yeah. That was a bit of an aside introducing you to how this begins. I do want to say that the absence of Colin Robinson as he goes through his childhood, and it's a good joke, because it's not a nice joke, but he's not Colin Robinson.
He is the horrible creature which crawled out of our dead friend Colin Robinson, as Nadja referred to him the whole time.
And that's
Except for once, when she called him Colin Robinson, and Laszlo got very upset, so she never did again.
He's such an integral part to the flow of the show.
His combination of being more in tune with like modern speech patterns and parlance than the rest of the vampires, but still a fucking weirdo, unlike Guillermo, provides necessary balance in the cast.
Especially in a season where Guillermo has had enough of their shit.
And he's just mostly a grumpy bitch the whole season.
Deservedly so. But,
yeah, look, he's been taking shit for 3 straight seasons, and they opened this season with an extra double helping of shit for him to eat. So, like, absolutely, it is totally fair that he's mean to them. They fully deserve it. But it also does make him not nearly as pleasant to hang around in watching the show.
Yeah. And Nadja is less cool this season. She's got a ridiculous plan to start a nightclub, so she's not even as grounded as she usually is, which is not saying much. But, like, just the rhythm is so off, and I think that might be why they felt more comfortable flying violently into the cringe territory. There just wasn't a balancing act anymore. It was just the clowns.
And I think the baby Colin thing could have been an excellent, interesting development, but for spoilers that happen later.
I don't know. I think it still works. The experience overall wasn't for me. But there were still some good bits.
Shall we talk over the episodes?
I guess. It feels so weird. Can I say that, listener? You have access to the comments section, and it feeds the algorithm when you comment, so we appreciate it. How do you feel about, like, when we have to talk about the plot of a thing? Like, I don't think most people are coming here for that, but are you? Like, because I don't think I'm very good at it. Is that just, like, my self-doubt talking? Are you guys tuning in and going, man, I sure do love it when they explain what happens in a movie or television show. They do such a good job.
I can't tell you that, brother. I'm not...
Well, no, that's why I asked them. But I can't look at them. I have to look at you.
You fully don't. You can look anywhere else but directly in my eyes.
I'm fucking turning my chair now.
So anyway...
Show me them hazel orbs. What's up?
Anyway.
It was a long preamble for me to say I don't know how to do this. Would you take the lead, my friend?
Episode 1. Mostly I do this so that we can give detailed thoughts on what we thought of each individual episode, and because we have time to fill on this podcast. So
for once, I wasn't going to make that observation. Man, it makes me feel so awkward. I don't think it's a bad idea at all. It's important because if you haven't seen the show and you don't want to see the show, this is what that's for. It's I don't know. Maybe I'm insecure. Maybe the bang, the pop, the mysterious kitchen noise
really seems to have thrown you off your game.
I'm rattled.
So we start off with them. We ended last season with them all leaving the house except for Laszlo and the weird creature that crawled out of the chest of their dead friend Colin Robinson. And we open with them all coming back because that's, of course, how the show is going to open.
What if it didn't?
What if it was just half the season was just Laszlo and Colin?
Yeah, and footage of the house empty. Nothing happening.
Honestly, is episode 1? I don't know about half the season, but is episode 1? That would be very funny.
Yeah, fully half an hour of just
Laszlo...
Raccoons
Laszlo watching go flip your...
house.
Yeah, raccoons frolicking through the house, Laszlo watching go flip yourself, and baby Colin smashing holes in the walls.
Yeah.
So that's it.
It'd be kind of like a horror movie a little bit. I'd feel uncomfortable after a while.
It's a very student film, honestly.
Yeah.
I would say this one's fine. Nothing too terrible happens in this one. Nothing that made me want to leave, turn off the show, leave, go away.
No, yeah, it was basically all resolution from the cliffhanger ending of last season and set up for what was going to be happening this season.
Yeah, they bring us back to 1, and then they introduced what wacky bullshit the cast is going to be getting up to this season. What their new thing is. Nandor's new thing is that he wants like a romantic partner, as opposed to just being generally depressed at the end of last season. Guillermo's new thing is he's mean now, has transformed from being an utter complete doormat to be the butler from like the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Like, he's still doing all the butler stuff, but he's being a bitch about it.
What an amazing connection observation. I applaud that. That's all I have to say.
As you said, Nadja's new thing is instead of wanting to be in politics, she wants to run a nightclub. And Laszlo's new thing is that he's a dad.
Man, we really should have seen the writing on the wall given the summary you gave of that episode. The nightclub thing made me a little worried when she mentioned it. I was like, this is not going to be funny.
I like that they made the point of everyone around Nadja going, this is a terrible idea, and then basically the writers looked through the screen at us and in Nadja's voice saying, the nightclub storyline is happening. Deal with it. We want to write it. We think it'll be funny. We don't care if you don't. It's happening.
Also, Nandor is going to get married, although he hasn't picked a bride yet.
Yeah, he wants to have a wife.
Yeah.
In his continued search for something to fill the empty hole in his heart, travel has not given him meaning, so he's going to try codependence.
Then episode 2, Nandor finds a djinn lamp, and a djinn comes out. I liked the djinn character a lot.
Djinn is the best new character that is added this season, and this is the funniest storyline that is added this season.
I like that it's a really fresh interpretation of a djinn, and they spend so long... this might be in the next episode, but they spend so long going through like the details of making a wish correctly without getting the ironic punishment part. And like he's playing ball with them and going, "Oh yeah, I would totally do that," but like he never actually does, except for the part where they get into legalese.
Well, he even mentions it's like what they're doing is the correct move, but it is annoying, and you get the real sense that he only fucks them over on that wish in the end because they annoyed him.
Right, yeah.
He gives them every other wish that they wish, completely fine, no weird turnbacks, aside from the fact that, like, Nandor's wishing for terrible, stupid things, but he gets exactly those terrible, stupid things. The djinn is not malicious, he's not trying to twist anything, except for the time that they try and stop him from doing so, which appears to annoy him so much that he does it anyway.
Yeah, I like that. I like the spite.
I like that it's a fresh twist on that still tells a very classic story in a very funny way. I really like the djinn storyline in general. Yep. I think it's good.
Yeah, I solidly stand behind that assessment. We also had more of I always forget this character's name.
Describe them.
I can't remember the actress's name either.
Describe
the guide. No. The guide.
Oh yes, the guide. You can't remember their name because they don't have one.
It's the guide.
Yeah.
That's their name. It's capital G. I'm looking at the Wikipedia article right now. Because do you think we remember these episodes? Do you think we remember these episodes? Do they think we're just really good at remembering?
Yeah, no. Spoilers. For anything we cover with episodes, we have the Wikipedia up and we're, like, using it for quick reference to remember stuff at absolute minimum. I'm not usually reading through because I'm far away from the screen.
I lost my train of thought there. Anyway, I like that character and that actress, and I think she does fun stuff here, and they're trying to flesh out her character a little more because she's clearly just a regular part of the cast now.
Yeah, instead of being a cameo, she's just one of the cast members, so they're giving her more stuff to do, B-plots and stuff, and I like that. Because she's funny.
Yeah. But this episode is Nadja trying to convince her to turn the old council headquarters into the nightclub. Which was fine. Yeah, Laszlo got to be a psychiatrist. There was some funny stuff in that one. And what Nandor's doing with the djinn is trying to figure out which of his former wives or husbands that he had 37 of.
Well, they are all called wives.
That yes,
He had some boy wives,
yeah.
some girl wives, as he said.
Yes, that was all right.
He brings his 37 wives back to life and makes it so they can speak English, and then they have a little bit of a Bachelor parody where we're deciding which ones he likes best, and they send they don't kill the other ones, they make them dead again. That's the Jin is very specific on that terminology.
It was amusing that this came up during the phantom TikTok censorship, which is leaked into the rest of social media, thinking that your posts are getting less views because you said kill instead of unalive. It's just a funny concurrent thing that they could not have possibly predicted.
Hey, just in case, murder, death, suicide, there we go. We got the whole package.
YouTube was censoring COVID-19 when you would say that.
Oh yeah, they would straight up, yeah.
Mm-hmm. But most of that other shit is not real. You can say fuck on TikTok, nobody cares. I mean, yes, by the time this episode goes up, not much longer after that. Won't be able to do much on TikTok. So, the Vampire Nightclub opens in episode 3. This one was okay. I like Fred Armisen. I wish they'd given him more to do. But I liked the Richie Suck vampire rapper storyline. I could relate to the fact that these were fully adult, like supposedly cool creature of the night vampires, and they listened to the vampire equivalent of Fred Durst.
Yeah.
Because that's my generation. You look at other people and they're like, what the kids listen to today, this deep introspective mumble rap with layered lyrics and stuff like that. That's crap music. You know what ruled? I Did It All for the Nookie. My chair is still turned toward him, and I am still looking at him. I need you to know that. This is not a visual medium, but it's
made the podcast. Mm-hmm. Well, you know what? I'll actually do it in the accent. It has made the podcast deeply uncomfortable for me.
Yeah, good. This is the one where they work out the wish. So yeah, we already kind of talked about that. I liked the bit where Baby Colin started every sentence he had with
"Hey, guess what?"
Yeah. Because that's a dumb thing kids do, and
it is incredibly annoying. That's what you meant. He mentioned this in a side earlier. I often say about many things that to make a good parody, you need to love your subject matter. There needs to be affection. Otherwise, it comes across as mean-spirited and bitchy. I think the people who made Baby Colin Robinson might not have followed that advice.
And you know what? You're right. It wasn't as good of a parody because it was mean-spirited and bitchy. But, in the words of Homer Simpson, I also hate pants. So, worked for me. I was actually really worried that it was going to be less funny. More saccharine. And I'm glad that it wasn't. At the end of this one, because Richie sucks, Baby Colin Robinson starts doing like show tunes.
And turns out vampires love child actors and child performers in general. So that becomes Baby Colin Robinson's new thing for the rest of the show. Which leads us right to episode 5.
No, episode 4. We had one breath before
true.
That happened. The Night Market, which was just fun.
Yeah, The Night Market, excellent episode, best episode of the season, fucking great times.
Yeah, this is hilarious, stupid. Like, if the rest of the season had been like this, I would have been like, man, this What We Do in the Shadows is getting good.
Yeah, the Night Market is the what this show is best at. Just taking wacky bullshit like horror movie tropes and monsters and shit and injecting them with enough banal reality to make it really funny.
Basically what they spent the first 2 seasons doing, not so much on the third.
And they did a really good job at it here. Laszlo's whole thing this episode is just absolutely ruining baby Colin Robinson's innocence and convincing him that everything sucks and adults lie all the time.
Like a YouTuber.
So it was really fun. The whole episode was really good. I really liked the night market.
Yeah, me too. Okay, now we can get to the shitty one.
Yeah, episode 5, Private School, is the worst episode of What We Do in the Shadows. Full stop. For me, he might disagree that there's one he likes less, I think.
No, this is the whole episode.
This is the worst episode of What We Do in the Shadows. It's incredibly bad. It is... I had to take 3 different breaks.
I did too. It feels like, okay. I don't watch a lot of modern comedies. I stopped watching in terms of sitcoms, like How I Met Your Mother was probably the last one I watched. There are some exceptions, but they are exceptions. In terms of movies, way the hell before that. Just because, tastes change and I'm not into what's popular in humor, I guess. And part of that is the crap line-orama, the phoned in, let's do 1,000 takes of one scene, and, and even within the movie, you just leave a bunch of those takes in there, like people just stand around trying to one-up each other with jokes about the situation.
That can be done well.
It can. I've seen it done great.
Deadpool is an excellent example. Deadpool 1 is an excellent example of that being done well. There are many scenes, specifically, I'm thinking of one sequence with T.J. Perkins and Ryan Reynolds just trying to make the best joke about how ugly Wade looks, and it's just a straight line-orama. They just left the camera rolling and let those dudes do bits for like 20 minutes and then cut it down. Great, excellent, hilarious, had me in stitches. That can be done well. This is not that. This is so deeply, thoroughly, and completely community theater-ass, improv night-ass cringe-inducing that it made me want to skin myself.
For the audience listening, I believe you meant T.J. Miller?
Yeah, I did. T.J. Miller.
T.J. Perkins is a professional wrestler and a real person. But yeah, so they're trying to get baby Colin Robinson into a school, and they just keep hypnotizing the people in the scene, and that's the episode.
They do, I think the vast majority of this episode, I think of this 25 minutes after commercial cut downs episode, maybe 18 of it is just this bit. This awful... it is just an improv bit. It is just a bad improv. 5 seconds of a joke. Someone off stage shouts "new choice" and they have to switch around.
And there's a B plot of Nandor keeps wishing for plastic surgery on his face, which is, I guess, it's an okay gag.
It's a funny visual gag.
I didn't like it. And then there's some small character stuff with Guillermo, but that's it. This is 22 minutes, I believe these episodes are 26 of that shit.
It really, it was so bad, it soured me on the next pretty good episode.
I wasn't super fond of this one either, and maybe it was because of that previous episode.
Yeah, I would have thought the bit in the middle where everyone in the wedding takes a long several hour break to shit on the concept of weddings would have had you in stitches.
I was nodding along with them.
They are correct, and they should say it. I find nothing amusing about this. They're just saying correct things.
Yes.
When does the comedy happen?
Basically. I don't know. It was okay.
Look, I'm in the same boat. I didn't like this episode very much, but I actually think it was pretty good. It's just I was still so mad from the last one.
The jokes that weren't directly about the wedding were usually pretty decent in this one, and I'm glad that the Baron got his old body back.
Not even the body he started the show with. His, like, original...
Yeah.
He's just, like, his... Like... Oh, God, what's that guy's name? Gary Oldman Dracula body.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's all I have to say about that, really. We move on to the Pine Barrens. This one was better. The neighbor dude, Laszlo and Nandor and Baby Colin go on a weekend retreat to the New Jersey Pine Barrens. Not to hunt the Jersey Devil, but that basically immediately becomes the plot.
The plot is mostly about Nandor and Laszlo bickering with each other.
Yeah.
The New Jersey Devil is just like...
The weird resolution.
Yeah, the weird climax / button on that joke.
Button. Good choice of words.
Thanks.
What else is happening is Guillermo and Nadja each set their own individual use for the house being completely empty, forgetting that the other one is going to be there.
Which makes sense for Nadja and makes no sense for Guillermo.
Yeah,
None.
Especially with the house looking still crappy like it does, and he's been embezzling money from the nightclub.
He's going to take him to a nice restaurant.
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense. It's a lot of, like, annoying family stuff.
It was very contrived, and it was incredibly awkward family conversations. I found the family bits of this more cringe-inducing than episode 5, but they were much less of the episode. So...
And I think we both enjoyed it when the family kind of went into rage mode and all unlocked their Van Helsing powers and tried to kill Nadja.
I like that they all did it instantly as opposed to after 12 years like Guillermo. That amused me.
He really wanted to be a vampire.
He really did. It suppressed it. Once they did that, it became funny again. But when they were just having awkward family conversation, like a fucking Thanksgiving dinner, I hated that shit. I hated it.
This was apparently written by someone who's done a bunch of other episodes. So, like, obviously not. But it felt like it was written by a different person. Like, someone who wasn't in the usual tone of humor. And maybe she was just trying something different. I don't know.
I mean, this show likes to try new things.
Sure, and there's nothing wrong with that. This just didn't really land with me that much. The Jersey Devil part was the best part, and I didn't even like that much. Oh boy. Speaking of go flip yourself.
So, throughout the entire season up to this point, there's been a running bit that Laszlo has a new favorite show. It's a home improvement show in the vein of, like, House Flippers and that sort of thing on
Property
TLC.
Brothers.
Yeah, that's probably the exact thing it was parodying.
Yep.
I know nothing about that other than that it exists.
I worked in a Lowe's while it was popular. I know more about shiplap than I care to.
Okay, so they were specifically okay. So a parody of, I guess, specifically the show Property Brothers.
I thought they were a gay couple for a long time, and I was like, wow, that's pretty progressive. That they're the icons of this house flipping thing. And like someone was like, no, they're brothers. That's Property Brothers. And I went, oh.
That's much.
And they're like, they look alike. And I'm like, eh.
The Go Flip Yourself is Randy and Jason Sklar.
My mileage on them as comedians is...
Oh, yeah, same. Completely variable.
Yeah.
They are either really funny or completely insufferable with no in between.
Like, once I noticed that was who was in the little interstitial bits
You knew they were going to...
No, I went, man, I'm glad they're just in these.
And then...
Yeah.
For this, they entirely change around the format of the show. Instead of being an episode of whatever weird mockumentary What We Do in the Shadows is, it's an episode of Go Flip Yourself, with intros and outros from Go Flip Yourself, and the camera crew is the Go Flip Yourself camera crew. So that provides a little, like, a new twist on the series, I guess?
So much like the courtship episode earlier, which I would like to pretend I didn't realize was a parody of The Bachelor, and if he hadn't handed them roses, I probably wouldn't have.
That's when I realized it.
Yeah. If you don't know the thing they're parodying, it's not that funny. Like, I've seen a home renovation show.
So that's why this wasn't funny?
I have to assume
it's because I have never seen a Property Brother.
I'm sure there were a bunch of jokes that were, like, really good and like, oh man, they do that all the time, the stupid catchphrases or whatever.
The thing that really frustrated me about this episode is that it was a bait and switch, and they wrote themselves into a corner, and then Simon the Devious their way out of the corner.
I hate to say I told you so.
But you did tell me so.
I did. I knew they were going to bring him and the dumb hat back. It's not...
It is one writer's fucking favorite bit in the universe. It is... I believe I even said the bit was funny in an earlier podcast. Revoked. I'm retracting it. It's not funny. Previous usages of it are now retroactively no longer funny.
I like Simon the Devious, and I think he could be a cool side character that shows up once a season to do dumb shit. The bit where he introduces his entire crew every time is pretty good. And as someone...
I like that it's slightly different every time.
...who desperately tries to fill a podcast every week, I get it. And that's very funny to me as a content creator as well. But, like...
That it is always the same devious thing he's trying to do is not nearly as funny.
I think you could do more with the character.
But I don't like that it was a bait and switch, because I was actually excited for them to film these vampires in, like, a modern, like...
That was going to be both incredibly disappointing and completely hilarious.
Like, it would have been incredibly... Because I grew tired of the shitty, broken down version of their house instantly. Like, that's a funny bit for episode 1, and I grew tired of it. It became, to a certain extent, just like a weird form of gross out humor to me.
So, this is something that was a problem with this season in general. Usually, and something I enjoy about What We Do in the Shadows, is that they have like 3-4 episodes where they worry it a bit, and then they let it go. Yeah, they move on. So, like, Baby Colin Robinson, the house being an absolute wreck... both
bits that last the full season.
Yeah. And there was another one I was thinking of, but I can't remember off the top of my head.
Guillermo's.
Oh, the nightclub.
And the nightclub and Guillermo's.
Guillermo was more of an arc.
But that's fair. That's fair.
But the nightclub thing, that bit, I expected that shit to be over.
Previous seasons, they would have been 3 to 4 episodes, and then we would have been on a new thing. They really ground the house being broken and shitty and Baby Colin Robinson into the fucking dirt. And I was excited to see the tonal shift brought by Nandor the Relentless, and like Nadja and Laszlo, these arch ridiculous vampire caricatures in like an open plan modern house.
And I was excited to see how they were going to undo it all by next season.
Oh yeah, it would have been funny.
But that's not what they went with.
No, they instead made it a bait and switch. Completely and utterly changed one room, which I guarantee we will never see again. I
don't think we did the rest of the show.
Yeah. They might bring it back as a one-off gag next season. But I'm going to guess they don't. You spent a whole episode winding me up for a shitty payoff.
Still not the worst episode this season.
No, that is still 5.
Yeah.
Because there were funny jokes in this. This episode wasn't funny, I guess, because I don't know I haven't seen the parody, the thing they're parodying, but I've generally seen house flipping stuff, so I got some of it.
Yeah. I don't know. Again, comments. I'm asking you so many questions today, my lovely listener. Are we good at summarizing things? That's one. Did you think the Bachelor and or Property Brothers jokes were really funny in this season? That's 2. Because maybe they just weren't funny.
Did you like episode 5? I want to hear from you if you liked episode 5.
Yeah.
I want a counter example here.
Yeah. Tell me all of your secrets.
Explain to me how I can... I was going to say something mean. No, just explain to me how you like this.
So, the next episode is basically... just a turning point. What is leading us into episode 10? It feels like this should have happened like 3 episodes ago. So all season, Guillermo's been dropping hints that he has a new boyfriend, or a boyfriend in the first place. He comes over and Nandor meets him.
Likes him.
Yeah, and uses like his last gin wish to...
turn his wife, who he fully married... and brainwashed into liking everything he likes, like a complete narcissist. And then was
I don't think he meant it as literally as it turned out.
And then is upset when someone likes everything he likes because he's also a bitch. And decides to turn her fully into a clone of Guillermo's boyfriend so that he can have his own Freddy. Because, again, complete narcissist.
I will say, though, that's probably the most respectful, ridiculously narcissist thing to do in that situation. You didn't steal his boyfriend.
Which you could have done with vampire hypnosis.
Or just charm, honestly. They seem to get along rather swimmingly. No, you made your own. And that's progress, Nandor.
It is still a fucked up thing to do.
Oh, sure,
Let's be clear. The vampires and what we do in the shadows are not intended to be good people who you should emulate.
Xanofts. It works. I'm down to only 2 or 3 people a day. That is a whirlwind romance until the Freddys meet each other and eventually couple up, and Guillermo is heartbroken, but what else is new? The B plot was the one I didn't care for here, but I was glad this was finally coming to a head. Baby Colin grows up again and is no longer a child.
He's now a angsty teenager.
Yeah. And he can't have his show tunes career anymore. And they spend a really long time lingering on a very bad performance. That was rough for me.
The actor who plays Colin Robinson is excellent at delivering a heart-rendingly awkward teen performance by someone who's trying their best and just doesn't have the chops anymore. And
having learned my lesson from episode 5, I just muted that scene.
It's good. Yeah, it really they spend a long time on it, and that actor's really good. It is convincingly portrayed.
Yeah, that's about all that happens. It's otherwise pretty inoffensive. We come to the season finale, sunrise, sunset. Baby Colin is an adult now.
They open the show with Laszlo's actor just singing Sunrise, Sunset from Fiddler on the Roof.
Yes, which was pretty good. But he discovers who he really is and finally bashes in the wall. Which, okay, like the wall bashing thing. They're, again, usually better about being a bit more subtle. And I don't mean a lot more subtle. I mean, like, Guillermo is obviously in a relationship now subtle. The wall hammering thing was just such a return. Every time they could return to that joke, they did. And it was so obvious from episode 1 that it was meant to be this big plot hook.
Yeah. Yeah, they didn't...
Like, it was everything that was good about what they did in season 3 with Laszlo tearing that page out of that book and just being weird about it, and then suddenly
You're right,
hanging out
it
with
is
Colin.
the exact opposite.
Exact opposite.
And the other way it is the exact opposite is Laszlo tearing out that page in that book and Colin's whole journey in season 3 is excellent character development that is paid off and leads to interesting conclusions that change the characters going forward. Laszlo falls into a deep depression and Colin Robinson dies. These are permanent character decisions that are interesting going forward. Sunrise Sunset chooses instead to completely erase the entire season of Baby Colin Robinson and just have regular Colin Robinson back with no memories of the intervening time to reset us back to the status quo. That is the joke of episode 10 of this season, is that everything goes back to the status quo.
I feel like it's a little more complicated than that, but I do agree with you in terms of tonally how it feels. I didn't like that when I first, absorbed it. But I wonder if, to use wrestling terminology, I wasn't being worked. Because Laszlo remembers, and Laszlo is hurt. This is really weighing on him. And that's interesting. And they also set up...
And Nadja still has her nightclub. She's just saddled with it now.
Yeah, she's stuck with it. She tried to burn it down for the insurance money, only she didn't have insurance, and she only burned her office where the money was kept.
Because, again, vampires are, in fact, stupid enough to have left the money in there.
Especially these vampires.
Yes, they are very dumb.
But they did establish last season, when Colin was looking into his past, that he doesn't have any memory of his childhood. This has probably happened a number of times across his existence.
But he remembers his previous life. Because he remembers the the vampires and all of their data, and remembers his 100th birthday. So it can't have happened a bunch of times across his existence, because he wouldn't think he was 100.
That's true. Maybe this is the first time. Where did he come from originally, then? That's a fascinating question.
I think the flow it sets up, the intended setup is like, energy vampires are born out of the corpse of the previous energy vampire, and then they just grow up rapidly, and they have no memory of their progenitor's existence, and they live 100 years, and then that happens again.
That's true.
But Colin Robinson is such an unbelievable, record keeper, that he keeps such an unbelievably detailed diary that it somehow, Manchurian candidates him forward into the new Colin.
Yeah, that's a really good observation.
I don't like it, but I think that's what they were going for.
And I respect that. I'm interested. Let's see where it goes in season 5, if anything happens with it at all. I'm willing to give this a little
Honestly,
room.
if he had just transformed back into old Colin, but remembered the whole growing up process, that would have been neat. Or if it was revealed that Colin had figured out what the deal with energy vampires was by the end, and specifically planned his resurrection, that would have been really cool.
Well, and he is an energy vampire, and they are all fucking assholes, so he might just, as you suggested off camera, be pretending that he doesn't remember to feed on Laszlo's sadness.
If they reveal that in season 5, A+. Colin remembering and choosing to fuck Laszlo up about it is peak Colin. A+, applause.
Especially if he has some really petty reason for it.
You didn't give me my Roblox.
Yeah, something like that. I needed those Robux, and I'm never going to have that back.
And so you'll suffer eternally.
I think the most interesting thing that happens in this episode is at the absolute conclusion, Guillermo's tired of their shit. He takes all of the money that he had been embezzling and gives it to Derek, his vampire friend who works at a convenience store. This has been a plot point for the last couple seasons. And he's like, hey, turn me into a vampire.
And there we end, and I think that's very interesting.